Hey everyone in the VC and anyone else wandering by, it's Matt, and I thought I would just in the mood to do a couple of videos today. So I wrapped up last week the Rolling Stone album reviews, did all of those in order that they were released. So that's done. If you're interested in the Rolling Stones, go check those out. Um, Kind of trying to decide right now what I want to do next as far as who to tackle next. There's some couple that I started and never finished. I did all the Beach Boys albums a few years back, and after that I started on the Brian Wilson solo albums, and I only did two or three of those. I have to go check to see where I left off, but so might pick those up again and finish those off. Also started on the Jam a few years ago, but only did the first two albums. One of my favorite bands of all time. Might finish those because they didn't make that many albums, so they'd be pretty easy to do that fairly quickly. But I'm thinking about Neil Young too, so I'm not sure where I'm going to go. But right now, I'm not really in the mood to go back and start and listen to albums to reacquaint myself to get ready to do the reviews. I thought I would just do, which I haven't done in a long time, some recent pickups. And this is going to be music and movies, both of them, because I've got more movies than I have music. I haven't picked up a whole lot music wise recently. Have some stuff coming. First off, I'll start, in case you're one of the one or two people that hadn't heard about this, but got this a week or so ago. This is the, what's it, 4 CDs and one Blu-ray, five disc set on All Things Must Pass. Great album, probably my favorite Beatles solo album. Wasn't gonna spring for the $1,000 mega box set, even though that looks really cool. Did consider getting the 8 album box set. Almost did, but then I changed my mind and figured I'll just go with the CD set. A lot of disagreement across the board on YouTube vinyl community here. A lot of people really like the new remix or remastering or whatever it is. A lot of people really don't like it. I haven't had a chance to dive into this. I played the first disc a couple of times in the car. Haven't played anything else yet, so I need to sort of jump in and give it a listen to see where I land on that spectrum, and I'll get to that. Maybe I'll do some kind of review. I already did a review of this album. I reviewed all of the solo Beatles albums too back there a year or two ago, by all 4 of them. So did a review on just the regular All Things Must Pass with that. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all the innards of this box because there's a ton of videos on YouTube of this and the vinyl set and the super box wooden crate set and everything else. There's plenty of those to see. It kind of confounds and amuses me that some people are already getting All Things Must Pass, sort of tired of All Things Must Pass already. And I find it kind of funny that, and I'm getting a little fatigued with it too, to be honest, that these super box sets of Beatles and solo Beatles and even other people, that there's an announcement that this is coming out, everybody gets all, and then it comes out and people do their videos showing all the bells and whistles and bottles and everything in it, and then a week or two later it's like history and forgotten, and now we're moving on to the announcement that Let It Be box set is coming out in October, and that'll happen, and the cycle will repeat itself, and then people get tired of Let It Be, and then there'll be an announcement that who knows what, McCartney or Lennon or someone will have another big box set, and everybody will be all up in arms about that, and it's just I don't know. It's some of these sets over the years, like with the McCartney archives, some of those have been really good, like Ram. Some of them, like Red Rose Speedway and Wildlife, gave me a new appreciation for those albums that weren't my favorites before that, but I've really not my favorites now, but I like them a lot more than I did. And through the box set and the extra songs and stuff, it kind of got into it, gave me a new appreciation. I'm not crazy about the mix on the White Album box set from 2 or 3 years ago, but I do enjoy the extra tracks on there, and I do play those quite a bit. But most of these sets, other than they look really cool sitting on the shelf, and for what they charge for these things, they damn well better look cool on the shelf. But other than that, you know, the Sergeant Pepper, the Abbey Road, the Flaming Pie set, you know, I got them, I played them, so that's interesting. And then they sit on the shelf. And so it's just really supposed to be all about the music. I do like collecting physical stuff, but as I'm getting older, I'm starting to think, you know, what the hell do I need all this stuff for? And I'm even thinking on the Let It Be box set, I'll probably break down and buy it, but I've had for years bootlegs of Let It Be outtake stuff, Get Back Let It Be outtake stuff, which essentially amounts to 100 takes of Get Back and Don't Let Me Down and Let It Be, and then the band playing some old, you know, cover songs or old 50s songs, none of which is all that interesting. So for the new Let It Be box set, unless they've got some stuff that just never got bootleg, never saw the light of day and is interesting, I'm not sure how excited I am, to be honest. I am looking forward to the new film by Peter Jackson and everything. I do love the Let It Be album. It's a lot of people consider it the worst Beatles album, and I guess compared to the others, maybe that's true, but it's still a great album. I love it. My favorite Rainy Day album of all time. But as far as the big box set, I don't know. I'm just getting a little over this stuff, to be honest. And I am still looking forward to, I do hope that Paul gets around to Back to the Egg in London Town on the archive editions. If he does that, the album's past that. I'm not sure how jazzed I am about archive editions of you know, give my regards to Broad Street or Memory Almost Full or whatever, even though I do like some of those albums. Not Broad Street, but Memory's a good album. But I think maybe just getting older and getting a little bored with this whole super box set stuff. But I'm looking forward to listening to this. Like I say, I've only listened to the first disc a couple of times, just haven't had time. So that's Beatles stuff, and you can see a bunch of people doing their openings of all the variations of that all over YouTube, so I'm not going to bore you with that. The other Beatle related, just because Ringo announced a week or so ago that his second EP of the year is coming out in October. It's supposed to be a 4-song EP for $20 damn. That's a little high in my opinion, but I'll order it anyway. This one came out earlier in the year, February, March, I don't remember when. And I got it and I played it a few times and I thought it was actually not so bad. Put it on the shelf, forgot about it. About a month ago, looked over and saw it, thought I hadn't heard that in a while, so I put it on. And I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I actually like all 5 songs on this one. It's not Ringo's best album, but it's solid, it's good, it's enjoyable. And, you know, it's Ringo. You got to go into a Ringo album understanding that it's a Ringo album. You're not going to get Beatles, you're not going to get All Things Must Pass or Ram or Plastic Ono Band or anything, but if you haven't given this a listen, his stuff set tends to sound kind of samey a lot over the last 20 years or so, but every once in a while he gets some pretty good stuff, and this is pretty good. I'm enjoying it. Been playing it a bit lately. Otherwise, I got the new Cheap Trick album, In Another World, which is a pretty good, pretty solid album. It's not on par with their first 5 or 6 albums. Those are classics. They're one of the best American bands ever, in my opinion. But it's still, this is a really good album, and for a band that's been around for 40, 50, whatever years, it's good stuff. They do a cover of Give Me Some Truth, the John Lennon song, which is not so good. It's not bad, but it's nowhere near Lennon's original. But the rest of the songs, the originals, Summer Looks Good on You, and Light Up the Fire, and quite a few of the songs on here, pretty good stuff. So it just kind of amazes and shocks me with some of these bands, because rock and roll was supposed to be for young people and made by young people and about young people stuff, and we got these bands that have been around for 40, 50, 60 years, and some of them are still doing pretty listenable, pretty good stuff. If it comes on, I'm not going to pull it out because it's hard to get it. The sleeve sticks to it. but blue and white splatter vinyl. So that's a fun. I saw them about 2 weeks ago at a small venue that holds about 1,000 people, and I had seen them in 1980 at another small venue in Fort Worth that holds about 1,000, 1,200 people. So hadn't seen them in 41 years, and it was good. They put on a good show and played a lot of their old songs, played some stuff off that. Fun stuff, and a really good concert. The first concert I'd been to since, I guess I went and saw Squeeze and X back in 2019. So I don't go to too many concerts nowadays because I'm old and boring, but first concert I've been to since the COVID stuff. Anyway, went to the record store here a week or so ago. And like I said, I have a bunch of stuff, but Soft Parade by the Doors. This is 50th anniversary edition, remastered, newly remastered audio. I haven't opened this yet to listen to it. I used to have this album, don't anymore. So I just thought, well, I'll pick it up. This is generally considered to be one of their lesser albums by a lot of people, but I always had a soft spot for it. I always liked it. It's not their best album, but it's got some good stuff on it, and it's got some stuff that's not overplayed by classic rock radio too on here, so that's a plus. But yeah, there's some good stuff on here. I'm looking forward to getting into this. Just haven't opened up and listened to it yet. Another one is a Bob Dylan album, which Street Legal. Had to double check there for a second. This came out in '78, around about the time of Some Girls by the Rolling Stones. I remember seeing this in the record store on the new releases back then. And as far as I know, I've never heard anything off this album. I don't remember this getting any airplay on the radio back then. And I was looking at the song titles, and some of these I've heard of, but as far as I can recall, I've never heard any of them. I've heard Changing of the Guards, the title, but I don't know the song that I've ever heard it. Just through the years, I just have seen this in record stores. I always thought it's a neat cover, kind of a cool cover. Never really thought about the album one way or the other, and like I said, I've never heard it as far as I can recall. And I was in the record store the other day and saw it and thought, what the hell, I'm going to pick it up. Joe, Mean Mr. Mayo, does a series called First Impressions or First Listens. I think it's First Listens, where he picks up a couple albums that he's never heard before, gives them a few listens, and does a video just giving his initial impressions on them. So I might do that. Love Dylan, but my cutoff is sort of 1970 or so. And even though I know some of the albums and some of the songs past that, I don't know very many. I know a lot of titles. I've seen the albums but never really heard them. Blood on the Tracks, but other than that, not very much. Pretty much stick with the 60s Dylan. And this is 78, so I have no idea if this is... I think a lot of his albums were kind of hit or miss past 70 or so. But this could be good. This could be a lousy album. I'll give it a listen when I get a chance and see, and I might do one of those first impression videos. Last thing I got was I got all those records at the same time, all three of these records. Don't need this because I already have it, but it looked cool, so I picked it up. It's a 40th anniversary half speed mastered at Abbey Road Studios edition, celebrating 40th anniversary of the great song Ghost Town by the Specials, which was a huge hit. It was a #1 song in England. Unfortunately, it didn't do anything in America. I think when this was #1 in England, we got Betty Davis Eyes for the #1 song in America, which figures. But I do remember summer of '81, I was in Chicago. I heard this on the radio up there, thought it was a great song, and it was written in response to a lot of riots and social political trouble going on in England at the time. But it works as a great fun song. You can, as a protest song, or just as a great fun song. Kind of sounds like it's a good Halloween song. This is the I think this was the picture sleeve cover in England for the 45. Kind of an EP because it's got 3 songs on it. You got Why and Friday Night, Saturday Morning on the flip side. Good songs too. I always love this. This is a great cover. Love that cover. And I never had an original 45 picture sleeve of it, but I do have the song otherwise. But this is the original sleeve on a 12-inch format, so it looks really cool. So I picked it up and gave it a spin. I always was kind of surprised that this didn't become sort of the hallmark song last year for the whole COVID 2020 crazy year that we had. And then the Rolling Stones came out with Living in a Ghost Town, which doesn't sound like this, but sort of the same theme in some ways. Also a pretty good song, the first good song the Rolling Stones have done in decades. This is a better song. This is a great song. It's a classic, and just wanted it because it looked cool, and I love that song. So got that. So that's the record stuff. I've got some stuff on order coming, but I haven't been to the record store too much lately and haven't picked up too much stuff. I wanted to show some movies though. A week or two ago, as they do twice a year, Criterion had their 50% off sale at Barnes and Noble, and there were a ton of videos on YouTube of people showing what they picked up. There always are. Every time there's that half off sale, you always get a bunch of videos of people showing the Criterion titles they picked up, and I'm no exception, except I went and I picked up several of them, but then I put them in with all the rest of them, and I realized I'm not sure exactly that I remember what I got 2 weeks ago and what I already had. So I thought I would just show, and there's not like 100 of them or anything, but I thought I'd just go ahead and show all my Criterion titles, just because I don't know that I've ever done that before. And I think I can remember the ones that I picked up a couple of weeks ago, as if it really matters and point those out. But yeah, just to go through my Criterion titles. And this isn't one that I picked up a couple of weeks ago, but this is probably my second favorite movie of all time, On the Waterfront, Marlon Brando. Brando gets my vote for best actor ever. He made a lot of movies that weren't that good, but the movies that he made were, the good movies he made were great, and some of the best acting ever. And this is one of my favorite movies of all time, Bonnie and Clyde, which isn't on Criterion, unfortunately. It's my favorite movie, but this probably be number 2. So just a classic, great movie. And I remember seeing this for the first time on HBO or Cinemax in like around 1983 or 4, because they would show recent movies on HBO back then, but they would show old movies sometimes too. And I don't know, I'd heard of The Wild Bunch and Godfather, of course, but not even sure that I'd heard of this one, and saw it, caught like the last 40 minutes or so of it. And of course, if it's on HBO, they show it hundreds of times, so I watched it the next day, the whole movie, and just blown away by it. So it's just a great, this won Best Picture Academy Award for what that's worth, and Brando won Best Actor for this. Also did for The Godfather 20 whatever years later. But On the Waterfront, that's a great one. Here's another one that's a favorite of mine. Michael Powell Pressburger movie, Life and Times of Colonel Blimp, Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. British film, just tells about a guy that's a soldier through various wars in his life, and one of those great kind of British kitchen sink dramas. Is a solid film. Maybe I'll do reviews of these in time, as far as full reviews, but just sort of hitting the highlights. That's definitely not Criterion, but I got that recently. These are old Popeye cartoons, so for some reason that found its way into the Criterion stack. Here's one I did get on this latest 50% off sale, and I haven't seen this yet, but from the description it sounds really good. A guy is a pickpocket and he steals something, and then it turns out to be some government important thing, so he's got I don't know, the FBI or whatever chasing after him, and this girl chasing after him, and I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know the whole plot, but it sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to it. May watch that today, as a matter of fact, or not. May just be lazy. One of my favorite films of the 80s, a little small-time film, Local Hero. It's just a classic. I remember seeing this when it came out back in, when did this come out? 83. So I was thinking 82 or 83. And just a quaint little touching, fun, quirky film. Great film. Definitely worth checking out. Local Hero. This is another one of the best movies of the 80s, and this is from 87, and didn't get a lot of notice. This is the same guy that did 8 Men Out and several other movies that were a little bit bigger commercially. This didn't do a whole lot commercially, but this is West Virginia coal mine people trying to unionize back in the early, like the 1910s, 1920s, and they send Union busters to, the company does, to terrorize people and so forth. And it's a stunning, really beautiful, powerful film. Mate One is definitely worth checking out. One of the best movies of the 80s for sure. Whit Stillman, Metropolitan, came out I think 1990, I believe, 89 or 90, I think 90, yep, 90. Just about debutantes and preppy kids in New York, which doesn't sound all that exciting, but it's a really good little small film, worth the time. Um, the Little Soldier, or La Petite Soldat, my French isn't that good, and Jean-Luc Godard, I always like. He's one of my favorite directors, so I love his stuff. And this one is he's did Breathless, among other things. I've got some of his other movies here coming up, but really good one. And so one of the several movies that he made with Anna Karenina, his wife, and so fun girl to look at too. Vivre sa vie, which I know I'm mispronouncing that, but I mean, it's another Godard movie, one of my top 10 films of all time, and not the cheeriest of films, but still great film. Yet another Godard movie, and there's several of his that I don't have yet on Criterion that I'm wanting to get, but Band of Outsiders. This is a fun film, just it's two guys and a girl, and you got Anna Karenina again in there. She's in all of these movies, and the two guys are kind of smitten with her and hanging out with her and trying to rob her money from her aunt. And fun movie. It's got a lot of iconic scenes, and this probably might be in my top 10 movies of all time too. Saw this in when I was in 8th grade in the movie theater. I Want to Hold Your Hand came out the same year as the Sergeant Pepper disaster movie there, which that got kind of all the press. This didn't get as much attention, but it's a much better film. It's about the Beatles showing up in America in '64 on Ed Sullivan, and just kind of how, from the perspective of these kids in New York, New Jersey, sort of how they reacted to Beatlemania. It's fun stuff. It's a lot of fun to watch that movie. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite Hitchcock movie, might be To Catch a Thief, but this would be in the running. Rebecca, which is his first American movie. Joan Fontaine, it won Best Picture, I believe, and just one of his best films. Really love Rebecca. It's a good movie. One of my favorite westerns of all time, and my favorite John Wayne movie of all time, Stagecoach. I like this because even though John Wayne had been around and had been making movies for a few years at this point, he was still not a huge megastar at that point. This is kind of the movie that made him a big superstar. So he's still trying, he's still kind of young and hungry and acting. He does a good job of that. Later on in a lot of the movies, he had the John Wayne persona going for him, that he was trying to play to that or phone in his roles. He made good movies after this, but this is his best, I think. And even if you don't like westerns, this is a fun, just kind of good story, nice action-packed movie to watch. Stagecoach, definitely worth the time. Another Nicholas Ray movie. He did Rebel Without a Cause, if I'm not mistaken, but this is a movie that came out a few years before that. They Live by Night, with was it Kathy McDonald and was it Farley Granger in this? Yeah, Farley Granger. He's a criminal on the run, and he falls in love with her, and sort of doesn't work out too well for him, but it's a great movie to watch and enjoy. So what we got here? Foreign film that I always liked, Closely Watched Trains, which is where is this from? Poland or Czechoslovakia? So good coming of age story, a lot of fun. This one I got Rumblefish, Coppola, which was a pretty good one. It's not great, but I had not seen this. I remember this being in the theater and I didn't see it. I think I saw part of it on cable back when and I never saw the whole thing. Never had seen the whole thing. So I got it to watch it, and it's not bad, but it's not great. It's The Outsiders that he made the same year. Maybe this was the year after The Outsiders. I think The Outsiders was 82. This is 83. Could be mistaken. Might have been both at the same time. Outsiders is the more commercial movie. This is artier. Excuse me. But Outsiders is also the better film, and it's not on Criterion, unfortunately. But Outsiders is a great one. This one's just okay. It's got its moments, but both of them have Diane Lane in them. So this one, I bought the Criterion half-off sale before this one, not the one back in around Christmas. Had no idea what this was. Just saw the cover and thought cool. And this is Polish, I believe. No, it's Czech too. What do you know? Anyway, it's just about a girl falling in love with a guy. Simple little kitchen sink drama type movie. Little small film. Very affecting. Very enjoyable. Had no idea what I was getting. Liked the cover. Watched it. Good movie. It was a nice surprise to pick that up. This is part of the 70s great wave of cinema in America. Peter Yates film, Friends of Eddie Coyle. And it's got Peter Boyle from Everybody Loves Raymond, Robert Mitchum, and other people in there. Well, I don't remember. Anyway, really good. One of those good 70s movies that were so gritty and realistic and good and fun. 80s movie that's sort of like in that vein of those 70s gritty movies. Paris, Texas. This is a Wim Wenders, however you say that. 1984 movie. Harry Dean Stanton, Natasha Kinski when she was the big deal for a while. And kind of a slow pace, but a really great film worth checking out. Paris, Texas. I've been to Paris, Texas. There's not much to see there, but the movie's better than visiting the actual town. Definitely in my top 10 movies of all time, and my favorite Chaplin movie. Love Charlie Chaplin, love all those movies, but this, I mean, they're all great, but this is tops for me. City Lights, I watch this probably 2 or 3 times a year. Just a classic, one of the best movies ever made, and nothing but good to say about that. Also, The Kid, which came out before City Lights, another great Charlie Chaplin movie. That little kid right there is actually Uncle Fester from Addams Family. And a few years intervened between that, of course, but that's who that is. But a touching, affecting, great Chaplin movie. Another Charlie Chaplin greatness, The Gold Rush, of course, one of his most I think this might have been his most popular as far as commercial and moneymaker movie. I think that made even more than Modern Times of City Lights, but doesn't matter about how much money it makes, it just matters if the movie's good or not. And Gold Rush's greatness, as is City Lights, of course. This is one I hadn't seen, but had heard of, and I didn't know what to expect, but it's great too. The Circus is another great Chaplin movie, and that's from 1928, so even before Gold Rush is 25, but so yeah. Monsieur Vidal, which is a later Chaplin movie, talkie. He only made, 5 or so sound films, and Great Dictator was the first one, and then this one and 2 or 3 others. Last movie he made was 1967, I believe. But, so one of his later movies, it's a good one, worth checking out. Another classic, this was after City Lights, and his last silent film, Modern Times, is a great one. I was fortunate enough to be able to see both of those movies on the big screen back in the 80s in Granada Theater in Dallas, which was wonderful, but great movies. This one doesn't get a lot of mention around Halloween. People start talking about good, scary horror movies to watch. This is from 1921, and it's a silent film, obviously, but a great classic. Not so much scary horror, a little bit it is, but it's more atmospheric and just kind of creepy and moody. Phantom Carriage, really great overlooked film that's worth checking out. So basically, it's the last person to die on New Year's Eve before the clock strikes 12 is doomed to take the reins of Death's chariot and work tirelessly collecting fresh souls for the new year. And so this guy gets the unlucky. He dies right as the clock's about to strike 12, and he gets that job and he's trying to get out of it, obviously. So it's this stunning cinematography and photography and everything. It's a great, moody, kind of creepy, good horror film. Another fun horror movie, I guess you call it horror, Cat People, the original one. I didn't mind the 1980 one with Natasha Kinski either. That was fun, but this one's the classic. This one's the go-to one. That's from 1942. Vampire. You get a book and the disc and all that, and this is 1932 from Germany, and just very creepy, moody, atmospheric, almost like a dream more than a linear story. Fun stuff. So there's three good, with October not too far off, three good Halloween movies to watch. Probably, if not my favorite director, definitely one of them, Akira Kurosawa, Throne of Blood. This is his sort of remake of Macbeth, Shakespeare, of course, set in feudal Japan, and just a classic film. Another one of those best movies ever made, from 1957. You can't really go wrong with Kurosawa. Here's a double feature, Yojimbo and Sanshiro, probably pronouncing those wrong. These are 1961 and 1962. They're made one right after the other, and they're not exactly sequels, but they're sort of connected, and both epic. This might be maybe his finest movie, Kurosawa, Ikiru. It's about an old man who has a boring job in a government office, just sort of a pointless job. He's the manager of the office for permits and so forth, and just never did anything with his life. He finds out that he's dying of cancer and realizes that he never did much with his life, and just spends his last days trying to do something to actually live a life and make a difference. And it's just a haunting, lyrical, beautiful, stunning film, and just might be Kurosawa's best. I don't know. There's so many good ones, it's hard to say, but it's definitely, if you haven't seen this, check it out. You will be very happy you did. Or maybe this is Kurosawa's best, The Seven Samurai, which of course was remade into American westerns and so forth over here, which were good. And I just went blank on the, but this is the better one, epic. So there's some Kurosawa for you. Elevator to the Gallows. It's got Jean Moreau, very fun to look at lady, very good looking. Got a score by Miles Davis. It's a great, probably the best. I think this was Louis Malle's first movie. I could be mistaken, but I think this is his debut from 1958. Best Hitchcock movie that Hitchcock never made. If you love Hitchcock, you'll dig this stuff. This is just these two people are in love, but she's married, and they want to off her husband, and all sorts of complications ensue, and other people enter the picture and make it even more complicated, just like classic Hitchcock misdirection and misunderstandings and thrilling, edge of your seat drama, and a really good looking girl to boot, just like Hitchcock movies. And it's a great one. The music, the story, Moreau, etc. The Samurai, which I have not watched yet, so I can't say too much about that. It's from 1967. It's supposed to be a good one. It's about a contract killer with samurai instincts and razor sharp tribute to samurai movies and American gangster cinema. Sounds good. I hadn't watched it yet. Some little pop group in the 60s that had a hit or two, but pretty much forgotten now. But I hear it's a fun movie. Might want to check that out sometime. And Vittorio De Sica, Bicycle Thieves. Another classic foreign movie from 1948, Italian. So, guy gets his bicycle stolen and just how that affects his life and a bunch of other stuff. Just a touching classic movie. So that is it. Don't know how exciting this video was for anybody, but I had fun going through those movies, and someday I need to do individual reviews of them, or I don't need to, but it'd be fun to. So cool. Have a good Sunday, everybody. We'll see you.